If you have ever stood in a coffee aisle staring at two bags, one labeled light roast and one labeled dark roast, and wondered which one is going to give you a stronger cup, you are not alone. It is one of the most common questions in coffee, and also one of the most misunderstood. Most people assume dark roast means stronger coffee, and light roast means something mild and gentle. But the truth is more interesting than that, and it depends entirely on what you mean by stronger. In this video, we are going to clear up the confusion once and for all. We will explain what roasting actually does to a coffee bean, how it affects flavor and caffeine, and how to choose the right roast based on what you actually want in your cup. Before we compare light and dark roasts, it helps to understand what roasting is actually doing to the bean in the first place. Coffee starts as a green seed, and on its own it has very little of the flavor we associate with coffee. Roasting is the process that transforms those green seeds into the brown beans we grind and brew. As heat is applied, the beans go through a series of chemical reactions that develop aroma, flavor, and color. Sugars caramelize, acids break down, oils develop and migrate toward the surface. Carbon dioxide gets trapped inside the bean. The longer and hotter the roast, the more these transformations progress. What makes this interesting is that roasting does not just add flavor, it also removes and changes the original characteristics of the bean. A lightly roasted coffee retains more of what the bean was before roasting, including its natural fruit acids, floral notes, and origin-specific flavors. A darkly roasted coffee has gone through more transformation, so those original characteristics get replaced by roast-driven flavors like chocolate, smoke, and bitterness. Light roast coffee is roasted to a lower internal temperature, usually stopping before or just at the point where the bean produces its first audible crack during roasting, which roasters call the first crack. At this stage, the bean is lighter in color, denser, and has not yet developed the oils on its surface that you can sometimes see on darker beans. In terms of flavor, light roast coffees tend to taste bright, fruity, floral, and complex. You might notice notes of citrus, berries, stone fruit, or even tea-like delicacy, depending on where the beans were grown. The acidity is higher in light roasts, which contributes to that lively and vibrant quality in the cup. Because less of the original character has been roasted away, light roast coffees also tend to taste more different from each other. An Ethiopian light roast and a Colombian light roast can taste dramatically different because the origin flavors are still very much present and easy to notice. Dark roast coffee is taken much further in the roasting process, past the second crack, where the bean has expanded significantly, lost a lot of moisture, and developed oils on its surface that give it that shiny appearance you often see on dark roast beans. The flavor profile shifts dramatically at this stage. Instead of the bright fruit and floral notes of a light roast, dark roast coffee tends to taste bold, rich, smoky, bittersweet, and deeply chocolatey. The acidity is much lower, which makes dark roast feel heavier and more full-bodied in the mouth. These characteristics are why dark roast coffee has such a loyal following. It delivers a consistent, robust flavor that a lot of people find deeply satisfying, especially in the morning or with milk. One trade-off is that because so much of the original character has been roasted away, dark roasts from different origins tend to taste more similar to each other than light roasts do. Here is where the biggest misconception lives. Most people assume dark roast coffee has more caffeine because it tastes stronger and bolder. The reality is more nuanced. Caffeine is actually quite heat stable, which means roasting does not destroy very much of it. The difference in caffeine between a light roast and a dark roast from the same bean is genuinely very small. However, there is a subtle factor that creates a slight difference depending on how you measure your coffee. During roasting, beans lose moisture and mass. A dark roast bean is physically lighter than a light roast bean from the same starting point because more water has evaporated out of it. If you measure your coffee by weight, which most specialty coffee drinkers do, the difference in caffeine is minimal. But if you measure your coffee by scoops or volume, a scoop of light roast coffee contains denser, heavier beans, and therefore slightly more caffeine than a scoop of dark roast. So technically, light roast coffee can have marginally more caffeine than dark roast when measured by volume, which surprises almost everyone who hears it for the first time. The answer really depends on what you mean by stronger. If you mean stronger in flavor intensity and bitterness, dark roast wins easily. It has bolder, more assertive flavors that hit you up front and a heavier body that lingers. If you mean stronger in terms of caffeine content, the difference is very small either way, but light roast has a very slight edge when measured by volume. If you mean stronger in terms of complexity and origin character, light roast is the answer, since it has more going on in terms of distinct and layered flavors. And if you mean stronger in terms of roast-driven depth and richness, dark roast is the clear choice. The honest answer is that stronger is not a single thing. It means different things depending on what you are looking for in your cup, and understanding that is actually the key to choosing the right coffee for yourself. It is worth mentioning medium roast here, because it sits between the two extremes and often gets overlooked. Medium roast coffee has balanced acidity and body, with some of the origin flavors still present, but also some of the roast-driven sweetness and depth starting to come through. It is often described as approachable and easy to drink, which is why medium roast is consistently one of the most popular options for everyday coffee drinkers. If you are not sure where to start, medium roast is a great entry point that gives you a taste of both worlds without going too far in either direction. Choosing between light and dark roast really comes down to what you enjoy in a cup of coffee. If you like bright, vibrant, and complex flavors, and enjoy noticing different tasting notes the way you might with tea or wine, light roast is worth exploring. If you prefer a bold, smooth, and rich cup with low acidity and a familiar, comforting depth, dark roast is probably your match. If you drink coffee primarily with milk, cream, or sugar, dark roast tends to hold up better because its stronger flavors cut through the added dairy without getting lost. Light roast in a milky drink can sometimes taste thin or washed out. If you drink coffee black, light roast is often more rewarding because those delicate origin flavors can shine without anything masking them. One thing beginners often overlook is that roast level also affects how you should brew your coffee, and knowing this can make a real difference in what ends up in your cup. Light roast beans are denser and require a little more heat and time to extract properly. If you are using a pour-over or any kind of filter method, you may find that light roasts benefit from slightly higher water temperatures and a slightly longer brew time to pull the best out of them. Skimping on either can result in a cup that tastes sour or underdeveloped, which often puts people off light roast unnecessarily. Dark roast beans are more porous and extract much more easily, which means they can turn bitter quickly if you use too high a water temperature or brew for too long. This is one of the reasons why dark roast coffee is so commonly used in espresso blends, because the fast, high-pressure extraction method suits the more soluble nature of a darker bean. Understanding how roast affects extraction helps you dial in your brewing approach and get consistently better results regardless of which roast you prefer. Light roast and dark roast are not really competing versions of the same thing. They are different experiences that suit different preferences and different moments. Light roast offers brightness, complexity, and origin character. Dark roast offers boldness, richness, and depth. Neither one is stronger in every sense of the word, and neither one is better. The best roast is simply the one that matches what you are looking for in a cup of coffee. If you have only ever tried one, it is genuinely worth trying the other just to understand the difference for yourself. For more guides on everything coffee, check out our website at 11coffees.com. Thanks for watching, and if this video helped you out, give it a like and subscribe so you do not miss what we cover next.